The Elimination Chamber is just days away, and naturally fans want to know who will win and who will lose. Join us now as WrestleMania predicts the winners and losers for the 2021 Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Is Elimination Chamber an uncertain show? No, we're not saying that the pay-per-view is in jeopardy of being cancelled. Instead, we're referring to the number of matches that could see substitutions or cancellations. For example, it seems unlikely they will continue the Asuka vs Lacey Evans match, given Evans' recent announcement that she's pregnant. However, will the WWE cancel the match or provide a substitute opponent for Asuka? Likewise, there are rumours that Keith Lee may not be wrestling in a triple threat match involving him, Matt Riddle, and United States Champion Keith Lee. But anyway, let's start off with a match that should be happening, as it's the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship, as Champion Drew McIntyre will take on Kofi Kingston, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Sheamus, and AJ Styles. Now, the WWE wisely changed things up with this match by having former WWE Champion Kofi Kingston replace The Miz in the match, not only because it's nonsensical to have a Mr. Money in the Bank competing, but because Kofi hasn't competed for the championship in far too long. This should be an exciting match thanks to the blend of styles in here, as well as the added suspense of whether The Miz will try to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase after all 6 men have battered themselves into oblivion. They've added even more intrigue thanks to the possibility of Retribution leader Mustafa Ali interfering due to his insane jealousy at Kofi Kingston. Add in Braun Strowman's rage over being excluded from the match, and fans could see someone taken out before the match or even see a run-in during the match. There should be some big man spots involving Almost, as he's interfered on AJ Styles' behalf, but just how he will do so in the chamber will prove interesting. This should be the best match on the card and a good way to further Drew McIntyre's second reign as champion. They would be wise in having Drew be one of the first contestants and beating the odds to hold on to the championship, but don't be surprised if The Miz attempts to cash in his briefcase only for Bad Bunny to spoil his opportunity, leading to Bad Bunny battling The Miz at WrestleMania either in a singles or tag team competition. But what about Randy Orton in the Elimination Chamber match? And what about the impending return of The Fiend? Somehow I think WWE is going to incorporate his return into the Chamber match. Now, considering WWE can do all sorts of tricks because some matches aren't live, they could have a spot where Randy Orton is in the Chamber match and he's waiting to be released in, but all of a sudden when the lights go out, The Fiend could be behind Randy Orton or even replace him or even just take him out altogether. Since we've heard rumours of The Fiend having a new look, this would be a great way to bring him back. But our final prediction, Drew McIntyre retains the championship. Next up, a Raw Women's Championship match as Asuka takes on Peyton Royce, who replaces Lacey Evans. Now, there are a number of potential replacements for Lacey Evans, but the WWE likely wants to keep a major name like Charlotte Flair or Alexa Bliss out of the picture this time around, so Flair can pursue the Raw Women's Championship at next month's Fastlane pay-per-view or even WrestleMania. They could go with Shayna Baszler, but Baszler seems stuck in the tag team division with her and Nia Jax currently holding the tag titles. But look for the WWE to go with a safe and easy substitute with Peyton Royce, a wrestler who sadly hasn't been built up as a singles contender, despite rumours that the WWE split her and Billie Kay up to have Royce get the singles spotlight. By all accounts, Royce has been working hard to improve her in-ring work, and while she's unlikely to win the Raw Women's title, this match is an opportunity for her to show she's got the goods in terms of a singles push. They could always cancel the match and replace it with any number of meaningless matches, but we're hopeful that the WWE will air it, even if it ends up on the pre-show. Our final prediction, Asuka retains the Raw Women's Championship. Next up, the triple threat match for the United States Championship as champion Bobby Lashley takes on Matt Riddle and Keith Lee. Now, Matt Riddle has been getting beat up by Bobby Lashley for the last several weeks and done the JOB for the champion in past matches. However, Riddle's refusal to quit and the frequency of his beatdowns have some fans thinking it's only a matter of time before he captures a US title from Lashley, who has had an iron grip on the belt ever since capturing it at the Payback pay-per-view. And then there's the presence of Keith Lee, a former NXT champion who seems to have the power and skill to topple Lashley for the title, but whose presence at the show remains uncertain. You may recall he had to take off time when his fiancée Mia Yim tested positive for COVID-19, with Lee's absence last Monday from Raw leading to speculation he might be absent from Sunday's event. This could prove problematic as the WWE has been pushing Lashley hard, and a triple threat match would allow him to lose the title without being pinned or forced to submit. If Lee doesn't show up and Riddle wins, it could help take Riddle to the next level, depending on how they book him after, but it could hurt Lashley's push. If Lee isn't able to make the show, they'll have to find a suitable opponent. The problem is that many of the best contenders are in the Elimination Chamber match for the championship, which would force the WWE to put in a mid-card act such as John Morrison, or even go further down the food chain and put Ricochet in the match. No offense, Ricochet. But whatever the case, look for Riddle to get the Duke and win the US strap. Our final prediction, Matt Riddle becomes the new United States Champion. Next up, the Elimination Chamber match to determine the #1 contender for the Universal Championship, as it's Jey Uso vs Cesaro vs Daniel Bryan vs Kevin Owens vs King Corbin vs Sami Zayn. Now this one has all the uppercard superstars you might expect in a match like this, as well as the surprise choice of Cesaro. Now that they seem to be giving the Swiss Superman a singles push, he'll have a chance to remind the WWE why he's such a highly regarded worker amongst fellow wrestlers and fans alike. His performance in the chamber may hint at just how much the WWE intends to push him, so keep an eye on how many people he eliminates and at the point he's eliminated. Let's be fair, he's not going to win, is he? Like the Raw Elimination Chamber, this match features a well-balanced blend of wrestling styles, and they could line things up for future feuds depending on how the various wrestlers interact with each other. Owens, who has seemingly reached the end of the road when it comes to vying for the Universal Championship, needs a feud for WrestleMania, and fans could see one develop in the chamber. Speaking of feuds, there's a big wild card at play in the chamber thanks to the return of Seth Rollins. Rollins, who returned on last week's episode of Smackdown and quickly proved he hasn't changed his egotistical ways, seems to be headed for a feud against Cesaro. Rollins attacked Cesaro on the blue brand, and some fans think Rollins might take Cesaro out before the chamber match, replacing him altogether. But while this is a possibility, they've done a good job so far keeping Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns apart, and there's no reason why the two should come close, even if it's Rollins competing in the chamber for a shot against the champion. A Reigns vs Rollins program is something that should be saved for a long way off, as it's been done to death and there are more viable opponents. They seem to be focused on building up the dream match between Edge and Roman, so the WWE needs to book this one carefully. However, as we see it, look for Jey Uso to get the rub by holding out against all 5 opponents and stealing the win and progressing to the title match. There's also the possibility that Jimmy Uso could return to give Jey some help, adding another member to the Reigns faction. How we see this one play out is that Jey Uso wins and becomes #1 contender. Then we get the Universal Championship match between him and Roman Reigns. Now the WWE is keeping Reigns out of the chamber in order to show his craftiness and his arrogance in flat out refusing to defend the title. While this match could be used to elevate a wrestler such as Cesaro by showing him come close to beating Reigns, despite already having wrestled a hellacious match, the WWE is instead going to have Jey Uso win the chamber match so he can lay down for Reigns, creating a slam dunk win. Now some fans have suggested that Jey could refuse to go along to get along, but that doesn't make any sense in light of how the WWE had Reigns beat Jey into compliance. This finish could backfire on the WWE, particularly if the match ends with a finger poke of doom style move. However, WWE seems to think it can do no wrong with the Tribal Chief storyline and could be the biggest test of Reigns' run as a heel. There's little doubt the WWE wants to further the idea that Reigns is a heel who always takes the shortcut no matter how formidable an opponent may be in the ring. Our final prediction, Roman Reigns retains the Universal Championship. Now of course look for more matches besides these, as the WWE has at least 2.5 hours of show to fill, and there are only so many R-Truth segments you can have. If you're curious about what potential matches the WWE will run at the Elimination Chamber, be sure to check out our wildest news stories and rumors you need to know that we posted Tuesday night. But there you have it folks, our predictions for the winners and losers for this year's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Let us know yours in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.